Welcome to the Coach Builder channel. This is our very first time that we're going to interview a master coach. We define master coach as anybody who has succeeded in a field of business, a field of expertise, and then turned around and coached other people to experience that same success, both at the very highest level. At the highest level you succeeded in business, at the highest level you succeeded in coaching others. That, to me, is a master coach. Today, you're going to learn a lot about Mike Michalowicz's story, but you're also going to learn about how to rebound when you actually hit rock bottom. You're going to learn about how to leverage your expertise and sell it in the open market as a coach. You're going to learn a lot about data collection in criminal cases, which you may not need to know. Mike Michalowicz is a fascinating human being, but if you pay attention, you're going to learn a lot about how you can build your coaching business. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Coach Builder channel. This is our very first master coach interview where we take somebody who has built an incredible coaching program, who probably started as a coach but grew much beyond that into a thought leader. It's Mike Michalowicz. I discovered Mike with his book Profit First. I remember getting the audiobook. I remember driving to Lake Norman in Alabama to meet the family. I was by myself, the family was already there, and I'm listening to Profit First, and I mean, I'm hitting rewind and going back 10 seconds, what do you say? And you solved such an enormous problem. That was my introduction to you, and then we got to know each other a little bit, and there is just an incredible life story, and I want to tease it for our audience and let them hear where you come from.
I love it. I remember the first time we met. I don't know if you remember.
I do. It was in San Antonio.
Well, Dave Ramsey's event, wasn't it?
That's in San Antonio,
Yeah, it was San Antonio. So you were so kind. You're like, hey, I'd like to interview you. And I get this note, like, Don Miller wants to interview me. This is amazing. I do a speech at Dave Ramsey's event, come off stage, and I meet one of your colleagues there. And I go, hey, Don, how are you? He's like, oh, I'm not Don. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't look for a picture of you in advance. I was so embarrassed. So I want to formally apologize to you.
I never heard that story until now, but for some reason I'm not offended.
He's like, Don's right behind me.
You are known as a business writer. And I mean, one of the top business writers for small businesses, period.
Thank you.
I mean, you've sold millions of books, but that's not how it all started. Did you ever think of that you were going to be a business coach or a business thought leader when you were in college?
No, never thought I'd be an author.
What did you want to be when you were a kid? What were you dreaming about?
Garbage man. Like when I was a kid?
Anything with a big truck.
Yeah, anything with a big truck. I thought garbage man was cool because those guys are buff and they're throwing stuff around.
Yeah.
Maybe a firefighter too, but never aspired to be this. What I was expecting to happen after college was I was going to get one job at one company and work that for the entirety of my life. Because that's what my father did.
Yeah.
He worked for one company.
Who did your dad work for?
Foster Wheeler. He was an engineer, oil refineries.
Is this in New Jersey or where?
Yeah, they were headquartered in New Jersey at the time.
Okay.
And he would fly out to different countries to work on their oil refineries. And he told me, he's like, go to an engineering school. I went to Virginia Tech. Yeah. Become an engineer. I was not qualified, so I was a business major. And then get one job.
You were not qualified for the engineering program?
No, I was a very...
You don't have like a linear mind like that, or what?
Not really. No, somewhat, but not nearly like my father's. He's very logical. I'm more relational. I can see how this connects with that, a connection that many people can't see.
Yeah.
I can see, oh, it works that way, but it's not linear necessarily.
Yeah.
And when I graduated college, I couldn't get a job.
I graduated with a business degree.
Business degree. Interviewed with Ernst.
What year would that have been?
93.
Okay.
Interviewed. We're around the same age.
Yeah. I graduated high school in 89. We're the exact same age. Yeah, 52.
What? Yeah, 52. When's your birthday? In September?
August.
Oh. You're older. You're older. You're the older.
That explains it.
Yeah, no wonder you're so mature. So I graduate, and I get one job. So I got an offer with the Department of Logistics, but the government. I'm like, no.
Super exciting.
No way. So I went home, worked for a computer company, and that became my start. I was like, oh, the guy that owns this is back in the rooms, munching on cigars, making tons of money. Maybe I should run a computer store or business. And that became the inkling of becoming an entrepreneur.
You literally just saw somebody and they were making a lot of money.
I thought they were.
So, but that was a driver for you early on, was success in business. When you're a business major,
yeah.
Were you like, I need to go out and make some money, or were you, I need to go out and express myself?
Yeah, I wanted to be super rich. I married very young too. My wife and I got married when I was 23. We already had our first son, so I had to make some cash.
Yeah. It's funny how that motivates you.
Someone said, like, what's the best way to drive a business forward? I'm like, oh, be terrified. When you are fearful, you can work, 5 in the morning till 5 the next morning.
So true.
Right? It's a great motivator for a period of time. After a few years, that started to wear on me.
And was that happening when did you start the computer store?
Started a computer business.
What was the business? What did it do?
It was called Olmec Systems. And what we did is we did computer integration. We were called a VAR back in the day, value-added reseller. Okay. But we installed computer systems. And I did for all these small businesses locally. My former employer, this is a true story, I started calling his competition, his clients, and saying, hey, I offer the service. I didn't know that's illegal. I just did. I just picked the phone and said, hey, I started a business like them. I'll do it cheaper. And some people hired.
You're literally picking off his clients to do what he does.
Yeah. That all happened within the first week, and I got sued the first week in business.
You are freaking kidding me.
The very first fax.
The guy with the cigar sued you?
Sued me.
Because you were stealing his business.
Yeah, and I didn't know that was, like, you couldn't do that. It was unlawful.
Does that say something about kind of who you are, not in terms of, like, ethics, but just ambitious as hell?
Has
that been true from the beginning?
Yeah. When I want to get something done, I'll find a way to get there, no matter what.
Did he win the lawsuit?
No, we settled. And in the empty.
Did you just go and go, I had no idea, man, I'm so sorry?
Yeah. I was like, dude, I would have never. I thought that's totally like how business works.
Yeah.
He goes, are you crazy? Through his lawyer, he said, are you crazy? I remember my lawyer saying.
He fired you before he sued you.
No, I quit.
Oh,
so I quit to start my own business.
You quit to call his guys. Yeah.
I quit, start my own business. I start calling people. I get a lawsuit. The first fax, I thought it was an order coming in. I go to the courthire's.
The first fax that came out of the fax was
a lawsuit.
A lawsuit.
It's a true story. And I went to the.
Were you terrified?
Terrified.
Yeah.
I hired a lawyer, and he said, I said, how much is it going to cost you? He said, well, it depends how long it goes. Hopefully we can settle today. And he goes, are you prepared for this? I said, at the time I had $1,000 to my name. I said, I have $1,000. He said, that's what's going to cost you just for today. When it ended, I wrote out a $1,000 check to the lawyer. The settlement was don't call anyone else and take the 3 clients you already have. So that's fine.
Kind.
That's fine. There was no financial penalty. Just stop doing what you're doing, you idiot.
Yeah.
I wrote a check.
Well, he could have written a cease and desist. It would have been a lot easier for him.
He totally could have.
Yeah.
I wrote $1,000 to the attorney, and I was empty now with cash. And
the first lawsuit under your belt.
The lawsuit under belt, and it fueled me the next morning. I was like, I have to hit the pavement. So I started going door-to-door sales, and just knocking on doors saying, hey, I'm a computer guy. And all right, get the hell out of here. Who are you? But I had to.
I mean, this would have been 90 what?
95.
95?
Yeah.
I mean, this is early when people didn't know what computers would even do for you.
Yeah, this is when they called it token ring. Token ring was, the wire was coaxial cable we use for TV today, but the computers were connected to each other through a physical ring. If one cable broke, the entire network would crash. It was the most volatile network setup, but that's what it was. The tool was called Lantastic. Novell was just becoming popular. It was old school.
And that's the first business. Did it start to take off, or did you start to do well with it?
Yes and no. So I put everything into it, and within, I think, 4 years, we hit $1 million in revenue. I thought, when I hit $1 million, I'll finally arrive. But I fell into this trap on that the first year we made, say, $200,000 in revenue. I thought I'd take home $200,000. I took home nothing.
Yeah.
I took home zero. I was like, oh, so it must be.
Period. Zero.
Zero.
At the end of the year.
Zero. I was borrowing from my parents.
Wow.
I have a dream.
Yeah.
Next year.
Was that because you were buying? Were you buying a bunch of hardware? Is that what you had to do? Is that where the $200,000?
No, I hired an employee when I didn't need an employee.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I spent $1,000 on a logo. This is the classic mistake that no one cares about or no one would see.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, clearly you don't make money $200,000. It's $500,000. That's clearly got to be the number. That feels like the right threshold. Once I hit that, I took home practically nothing. Meager $10,000.
20 grand or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, then it's got to be $1 million. And when I hit $1 million, nothing. And that's the first time I actually started accumulating debt, because now I was getting some credit, SBA loans, because I had $1 million business. So I was accumulating debt. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I guess it's a bigger number. So yes, I was successful. The business was growing, but I was becoming more indebted, more entrapped in the business.
Yeah, it was just, there's so many businesses who have that story.
I know.
Is that foundational? I mean, you wrote a book called Profit First, which is that your big breakout book?
That's the big
Profit
one,
First. If you wrote that book later, were the nightmares from this season sort of, did they go into that sort of thinking of we got to claw profit out of this deal?
Yeah.
And there were other stories that we're going to get to in a second that would help that. Did you sell that business or did you fold that business?
This became another seed for learning. So private equity bought it. It was not like an equity group, it was a small group that came in and said, oh, we're doing a roll-up. We need to acquire this business. Today they're valued at like, the roll-up is like $300 million or something. It still exists. You can go to olmec.com.
That's amazing.
I know some of the employees that work there still. That I run into them, like, that's the guy who founded the company. And I'm like, really? But I sold it, and I didn't make huge amounts of money, but I made, for me, pretty substantial money. It was a six-figure deal. And I was like, my God, this is it. And I believe that what you have to do is pump and dump. Build as fast as you can and get out. I didn't think about the viability. My second business was computer crime investigation, forensics. We talked about it on a podcast.
Yeah.
That business hit it. Bootstrapped, first year, 600, second year,
private investigating, what, business crimes kind of a thing? Or
Yeah, mostly criminal defense.
Okay.
So we did Enron, but Michael Jackson was.
How'd you get? That seems like such an incredible leap. Like, how'd you go from
to forensics?
selling like computers that are wired together to forensics in court cases? Defending.
I thought you were going to say, how'd you get Enron? I got to tell you, I got Enron. So I was watching TV one night, and CSI,
I can do this.
CSI's on TV. I'm like, that looks so cool. You go into buildings, you take computers, you look at the data, and you find evidence. I'm like, that sounds so cool. This was, I sold my first business, I started in 95, 2001. So 2001, 2002, that 6 months after opening, Enron hit, and we got the Enron trial.
How did you get Enron 6 months?
Cold called us. Attorneys.
You're in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
You're brand new at this.
Yep. We had a couple cases in our belt.
And you knew how to take a computer and get whatever the criminal defense needed out of it.
Yep. I'll tell you what we did, though, that no one else did. You use a process called mirroring. So if you were accused of something and we had to investigate your computer, we would usually, in the middle of the night, sneak in when you weren't there, take your computer, pull the drive.
This is all legal? You had like a warrant?
Well, not the warrant. This was, the owner of the business would say, we think Don, employee, is starting a new business on the side.
Oh, got it.
So we would legally let in. And we come in like dressed like the janitors because you want to be very surreptitious. We come in, we pull your drive. It was just, back then it was IDE drives, if you remember.
Yeah.
We would then take a clone drive, you connect it, and you do a thing called mirroring. You take the data off yours, put it here, reinsert your drive. You can't tell it was touched. Now we're back at the office investigating your drive.
Looking at all the emails that you've sent and all that other kind of stuff.
But what we did, which was an idea I had, I said everyone in the industry, it was a nascent industry, is calling this mirroring. We're all copying drives. I'm like, let's give it a different term so we sound distinct. I called it data encapsulation. So we got a call from attorneys.
This is a marketing mind.
This is a marketing. So people would say, what do you do? I say, well, step one is we secure the evidence, called bag and tag. Step two is we go through data encapsulation. I said, this is the most critical step, and some companies don't even do it. So anyone you're talking about, ask them about their data encapsulation methodology. Right?
But they won't know you're talking about mirroring.
Correct. So the attorneys literally said, we called another company, they said, they don't even know what that is. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's the most critical step and they don't know how to do it. You need proper encapsulation. We started winning gigs. So Enron calls us, the defense attorneys, and says, hey,
they're spending tens of millions of dollars on this case, right, to get these guys off.
Their burn was $50,000 a day.
Ooh.
A day was their burn. Yeah.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. They call us and said,
that trial take place in Houston, or they moved?
We did in Houston, yeah.
Wow.
So we did the
a lot of computers.
Analysis. There's a lot of computers. We found we had a.
Did you have to scale up a team?
Yeah. So we
went to go hire some people who knew how to do data encapsulation.
Yeah, you said I was a clown.
I don't know how to do that. Do you know how to do mirroring? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
Quick. So
we can easily teach you.
There's a university called John Jay. It's a criminology university in New York. We started pulling students from there. Old police officers start pulling people. We built a team of 30 folks within a year and a half. We were doing $3 million of revenue, second year bootstrapped. We had our team go down to Houston to present the evidence. And what we found was Kenneth Lay, Andrew Fastow, and crew were sending emails to each other about this Nigerian barge trial.
Right.
We were able, the FBI, the CIA, the ATF could not figure it out. We found the exact communication chain and said, holy crap, These guys did it. Our job is forensic.
Your job is just to convince them they didn't do it.
Yeah, but it's not. Our job is to produce the evidence to educate the defense on what to do.
So they are prepared.
Yeah. The defense gets it. The attorneys can say, holy crap, you found what's called inculpatory evidence. They're going to jail. You are going to be sequestered within the second we produce this.
You are?
Yeah, because they're going to flip the experts and say, hey, tell us what you found, Mr. Michalowicz. They want that evidence. So they said the only way not to get sequestered if it's inconvenient or improbable that you're available during this trial, because this was being produced during the trial, they put us on a private jet and said, get the F out of Dodge. You are going out of the state, out of Houston immediately. Got us this jet.
Because they don't want the whatever attorney, the prosecuting attorney, to be able to have any access to you.
No access to us. So we're on a plane.
They do have to turn in that evidence to,
They turn in the evidence, say this is the evidence we produced. The prosecution's like, thank you very much. They said, we'd like to call as experts. They said the expert's not available. They're across the country now. And now slowly going across the world. They're on another project. So we never got called into that. It was crazy times.
That really is.
The moral of the story is, year 3 now, we're on a $7 million run. The company's exploding in revenue.
The Enron case probably helped a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about. There's trust there.
Christy Brinkley calls. She got divorced from a guy named Peter Cook. Says, we'd like you to do this analysis.
Did you go into Christy Brinkley's house in the middle of the night and steal her husband's?
No. But I did manage the case. I'm like, this.
I want this one.
Yeah, this one needs special care.
But you were married at the time.
Of course. Yeah.
So there was no Christy. Tell me how.
Pardon me. No. I remember walking to the elevator. It was to meet with her and her attorneys, and I walk in. A limo pulls up as I'm walking in, and then a person comes out. It's Christy Brinkley, and she walks in. The elevator closes. Me and Christy Brinkley, and I look up. I'm 6'1". She was wearing heels. She must have been 6'2" with the heels. I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, hey, I'm your forensics guy. Very uncomfortable, very awkward. We get up there. This turned me off to the industry. It was sickening. We found evidence of what her then ex-husband had done that would facilitate a divorce settlement very quickly. We called and we found this within hours.
And you are working for Christy Brinkley. At this point, you're
working for her attorney.
Kind of the prosecuting side instead of the defense side. Okay.
So we go
not defending the dirtbag.
Call the attorneys to say, here's the evidence we found. And I'll never forget this attorney says, well, maybe that's a little premature. And I'm like, we have evidence. We have the inculpatory evidence. Said, you want something done. Slow your roll a little bit. Let's see what else we can find.
It was all about antagonizing the client. That upset me so much. They
antagonizing
their client.
Frankly.
Yeah, to stretch
because
the case.
They want more money.
Yep, it was slowly. It was so
drives me crazy. I've dealt with a lot of lawyers who don't want to settle. They're like, oh, well, what if we do this? What if we do that? What if we...
It was so upsetting.
Yeah.
And I think the secret code was, why? We got to keep this rolling along, but you got to keep rolling along. Like, you can make more money because you can just keep on researching and finding more and more stuff. Let's see what we can find here. She needs all this stuff. I'm like,
meanwhile, the case is over. I mean,
case was over. And I remember sitting down with Christy Brinkley and other people and just seeing the anger in her face, the animosity she had toward her husband, because it was more and more evidence being produced and saying, we got to meet again. It was manipulative. Yeah. I was like, this is so outside my integrity. I'm done. And I remember walking out there saying, I don't want to ever be in this industry again.
What'd you do with that company? Did you sell it?
Fortune 500 bought it. Robert Half International. It was a great exit.
Yeah.
But I also learned that I got to do what's true to me. I got to do something that's integral to me and also speaks to my purpose.
Are you the sort of person who can figure out really quickly how to acquire a company and exit a company? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they're good at making money, but they never think about organizing their company in such a way that they can sell it, or wouldn't even know how. It's just not their instinct. You've already sold 2 companies pretty early in your career.
Pretty early. I sold my second company in my early 30s. I don't know if I'm particularly good at it.
Somebody just walk you through it?
No. I hired the right people. The right lawyers came in. You bring in an investment banker, an M&A guy came in that I know. But what I realized when I sold that business, I thought I knew the magic formula for rapid growth, that I could just shoot at a target and I was going to hit something. So my ego went.
Yeah.
I really thought I was Midas. So total tool. Bought a big house in New Jersey, got all the cars.
This is after you sold.
Robert Half.
You're 32?
32 years old.
Yeah.
Ego goes like this. I was coming home and my accountant had called me. It's right around tax time, and he said, "Hey, you have a tax bill due, but we're looking at your cash situation. You can't afford your tax bill." I said, "Keith, what do I do?" He said, skip your taxes this year. And there's a pause, and I said, "You can seriously do that?" He goes, "No." And he snorts. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like he's joking about my life. He goes, he snorts. He goes, "You'll go to jail." And that's when
when you realize you're a bankrupt.
That's when I started crying.
Yeah.
I was like, "Goodbye." And I pulled up, and I'm like, "How am I going to tell my family this? I'm bankrupt."
Yeah.
I walk in, I'm crying. My wife had prepared a meal. It was Valentine's Day, and we cook a meal together for holidays like that. And she's like, "You're a half hour late." She actually had called the police because I hadn't come home. I was sitting outside saying, "How do you explain this to your family?" To myself. She texted me saying, "I'm calling the police. I cannot find you." That was the impetus to walk in. Sat down. Food was cold and everything. I had 3 children then, my daughter and my 2 sons and my wife. And that's when I started just letting it go. I'm like, we're losing the house. We lost it 30 days later. Because what I did is...
Lost the house 30 days later.
Yeah. What I said to the accountant, I said, "I'm not going to declare bankruptcy. I think it's a form of integrity, is that I don't know who my creditors are. I don't know who the credit card companies are, but it's not their responsibility that I'm an idiot. I'm going to pay for this. I'll have to find a way." He's like, "You've got to liquidate because you have this bill due, or you're in trouble." So
the tax bill,
credit card debt. It got so bad, Don. I was getting letters in the mail. You're at rock bottom when this happens, about these debt consolidators and debt forgiveness. I was getting like 10 a day. The mail was coming in. I'm like, oh, not only am I in financial straits, this is like on public notice. Like the world knows about this, and they did. Everyone's reaching out to me. "We can save you, Mike." And so I wanted to even believe the scams. Like I remember one thing comes in and says, "Make $100,000 stuffing envelopes." Like, yeah, I want that to be true.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that changed everything. My daughter was sitting at the table. I said to her, "Adela, I can't send you to horseback riding lessons." It was $20 a session. I said, "I can't send you to that." And I'm crying. And she stood up and she ran out of the room to go to her bedroom. And she grabbed her piggy bank. And I'll never forget those little legs just running down the steps going, "Daddy, Daddy." She goes, "We'll be okay. I'm going to start providing for us." And she slides across the table. It was...
I mean, that's amazing. It's, I know that's a very painful moment, but looking back, you've got to, it sounds like it's a wonderful life. Right?
Yeah.
Like that moment.
It feels like jumping off the bridge.
Yeah. But you also realize I've got this family who cares about me regardless. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but it's got to be just excruciatingly painful.
In retrospect, that's why I believe it's divine intervention, and it's the package.
That God actually caused you to go bankrupt, so he could pivot your life in a different direction.
Yeah, it was the ultimate slap. I said something. I wrote about it once in a book. I'm embarrassed I ever said this, and I almost cannot say it anymore. I'll say it, but I almost cannot. When I sold that second company to Robert Half, my wife and I were shopping for cars. I bought 3 cars in one day. I bought a Viper. We went in. My wife is like, "What?" My wife is like, "You're losing your mind," but she didn't say it. And we're about to get her a Land Rover, and she goes, "Can we really afford this?" I said, "We got more money than God."
Oh my gosh! This is how many days before you're bankrupt?
2 years, but that was the moment. That's the first time I ever heard like they say God speaks to you and stuff like that. God spoke to me. All of a sudden I feel this.
Actually, I have a lot more.
I got a little more than you, Sonny.
As well
and
as
he starts grooming his beard. A little more. No, I felt all of a sudden this pain I've never felt before. I'm like, what the hell was that? And like, that's the lesson.
You're just like everyone else. You don't have boredom unless you make the stuff at the stage. Oh, what the hell was that? And looking back on it, oh, that's the moment. That's the moment that the lesson began. And then my daughter's moment was the one the lesson was finalized. The learning hadn't begun, but the lesson was finalized. The learning is going to be lesson.
But walk me through that. I mean, you're bankrupt. You explain this to your family. You're humiliated. You're publicly humiliated.
Yeah.
And then how do you go from that's bottom of the barrel? How do you go from there to sitting here talking to me about the incredible coaching?
Yeah.
Family get worried about you at this point? Or are you
Yeah. Well, my wife, I was definitely in depression. I went through a couple of years of depression. My wife said to me, she goes, "Mike, you're just a dark cloud. Like, that's not who you are. You're like the eternal optimist." She goes, "You're a dark cloud." I remember the moment too, and her saying that, and it landed. But what was interesting also, as I was going through that, first lamenting myself, I started reflecting on everything I'd learned about business and was like, no, I didn't know much about business. I'd been an entrepreneur now for 10 or 12 years. And I started documenting stuff. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know much about it. It was kind of that deconstruction of a building where you strip it down to the studs. Or it was naturally happening. I was taking everything away, saying, I have to relearn all this. And it came to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I know very little about entrepreneurship. I think today I know about an inkling more. And I think I have to learn so much. I'm like on this mission to learn. And I share this with you on a podcast. The best student in the room is always the teacher. The reason I write my books is not.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's when I want to figure something out.
I learn this. So about leadership, I just wrote that book about leadership called All In. I wrote that book because I don't know how to be a great leader. I aspire to be, but I don't know how to. And it's been a journey, and I moved a step forward. Not tremendously, but I've moved a big step forward. When I find something that works for me in that process, then I'm like, share with everybody.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. How do you go from sort of rock bottom in that moment, not only to rebuilding a business career, but then pivoting to, it's a whole other thing to pivot and turn and say, I want to help other people do it.
I know.
How much was rock bottom associated with I want to help others and I'm tired of my life being only about myself? Was that part of the journey?
Yeah, that was part of it. That
laid
money,
the foundation for that.
Originally, money mattered most. I just wanted to be the rich guy, the richest guy.
Yeah.
I realized when I lost everything, and you've heard this before, who your real friends are. I was surprised how many real friends I have. Like,
wow.
Like no one left me. No one, except for a few people, but no one cared about any of the stuff. They're just like, oh, we like you. Some friends did remarkable things. One guy's like, hey, I need a consultant for my company. Would you start consulting? I'm like, I don't work in this space. He's like, shut up. Check. And I was like, wow. Another guy, a lifelong friend, just said, hey, why don't you guys resettle in? This will help you a little bit. Check. People, I didn't ask for money. People gave money.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Another family said, hey, you lost your house. We're going sabbatical. Why don't you take our house while we go on sabbatical? We need a house.
You mean you couldn't have been that big of an asshole if you have friends who are reaching out like this? You must have planted some good seeds of goodwill.
Yeah, there was a bipolar Michalowicz. There was like good, who I think I really am, and then there was like I'm better than thou.
Yeah.
And that better than thou guy had to die, and maybe it's still in here. I hope it never rears its head again.
I doubt it is.
I don't know. It was ugly. I'm embarrassed and ashamed about it. So
yeah.
I hope it's gone. So the real friend stepped up. In that journey, I said, wow, these people are contributing to me. It is about contribution. Every time someone cared for me, I was like, I put them on a higher platform. And I realized that I never really even cared about their accumulation of stuff or things. I cared about their contribution. I'm like, oh, contribution, like lesson number one, people care about contribution.
Yeah.
Be a contributor.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be an author, by the way. I never aspired to. I just one day started writing a journal for myself, started writing down the formulas that I think I could use for myself, Profit First being one of those. And I said, my gosh, I should write about this.
Was the next business that you started after bankruptcy consulting and coaching? Or did you, so you immediately went into, here I am with nothing, having lost everything. Let me teach you how to make money.
Yeah. I will tell you this.
But I mean, you start Profit First with that story. You start with the story of having lost everything.
Losing everything. And that's where Profit First was started.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. When I need to make money, and I think this is true for many people, you probably do have a skill set that is sellable. So consult around what you already know. I knew how to get bank loans because I was really good at that for my second company. So I started helping consult people in getting bank loans, SBA loans, applying for those. And started making some money that way very quickly. So I went into my skill set.
Okay.
I didn't say I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to do for you what I did for myself in the past that works pretty well.
When did the light bulb go on you have a group of clients, regular people that you're coaching, and then did you decide to write a book because you wanted to grow that list of clients, or where did the book strategy come in?
What I did is I did write my first book because I wanted to codify stuff I'd done for myself. That was the toilet paper entrepreneur. Put it out there, and there's some people resonating with it. I was getting coaching clients out of it. But the biggest thing is I learned how to spin media. There was a show called The Big Idea of Dying Deutsch. Okay, it was CNBC. It ran for 10 years. It was an entrepreneur show. It was really a popular show too. It was their number one show for a period of time. This is, again, early 2000s. I called the show and said, hey, I wrote a book, I'd love to come on. And they were like, no. Okay. So I said, well, I called again, a different voice. I'm like, I'm interested in your show. Tell me about your show. And they said, well, there's a live audience and stuff. I said, can I be in the live audience? They said, yeah, sure. So I show up, and I sit in the audience once and watch it. I then talk to the show booker. The booker books the guest and books the audience. And I said, hey, I love
This show is so much fun. What's your biggest challenge? And she goes, oh, getting an audience, live audience is a pain. Thanks for coming today. I said, oh, I can get some other entrepreneurs here. Would that help you? She goes, yeah. Next week, I bring 5 of my buddies. Like, hey, you want to watch a live TV show recorded? They come.
Yeah.
It's great. Next week, I'm like, I got to find 5 more people. Bring 5 more people. I do this about 6 weeks in a row. And she goes, thank you so much. She goes, who are you? I'm like, oh, I wrote a book. I'm trying to support entrepreneurs.
Literally, there was the long play of just serving them and serving their needs. That's amazing.
The EP, the executive producer, this guy named Will Surratt, he's like, yeah, we heard about you. You're helping us with the show. He's like, what do you do? He goes, hey, why don't you come on? We'd like to interview you for a 30-second segment.
Isn't that amazing how familiarity goes so far?
It's the number
Just the
one.
amount of time that you've seen somebody, met somebody. And people think, oh, it's so hard to build relationships, so hard to land big customers. Familiarity is
Show up.
huge. Show up over and over.
Over and over again. You can be sloppy at your marketing. You could be poorly presentable. But if you're the person showing up, trust is inherent to familiarity.
That's interesting, yeah.
Coca-Cola does this. You watch a Coca-Cola commercial, they're not like, oh, Don's going to run out and buy a Coke now. They say he's seeing the red logo. And if they sees it enough and associates good things with it, when he's in the market for a soda, he'll pick Coke over the generic.
Got it, yeah.
You know, we don't have the Coke's budget, but in a narrow community, if you just appear over and over again, that little community will know you. So the EP says, oh, we're talking about you. Thanks for doing this. I'd like for you to do a 30-second interview on air. I'm like, great, here's the subject. I didn't know that was a test to see how telegenic I was. After that segment, I go back to the green room, which is not green, and he goes,
The great conspiracy.
yeah, I don't understand that. He goes, that was pretty good. He goes, you want to come in for the full segment? I'm like, yeah. So I went right back on.
Right back on.
For 5 minutes. And then I did 10 shows with them. They invited me to do my own spin-off television show, which went nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you did it, though.
I did it, yeah. It was called Bail Out.
But you were on there 10 times.
Yeah, it was one of the most frequent.
And you already had a book out at that point.
Yeah, Toilet Paper Entrepreneur.
And did it help sell the book and help launch you a little bit?
Yeah, it just gave us some exposure.
And then the next book is?
Next book was called The Pumpkin Plan.
Yeah.
And The Pumpkin Plan, for me, was the first real hit. It's now subsequently sold 150, 200,000 copies.
That's great. That's huge.
Yeah, and plus international distribution, probably another 50, 150,000. So yeah, it's for a book, that's pretty darn good.
And these are for startups or small business owners would mostly get into this?
Yeah.
How did you monetize after you wrote a book? I mean, royalties aren't enough to provide normally.
Right.
What were you selling after you released that book?
Yeah, so build a coaching practice. I realized while I have some ability to coach, I'm not great at it. It's definitely not my talent. My interest burns out pretty quickly.
Have you noticed, I've noticed this about myself, I do like coaching in one-off sessions where I'm helping you figure out sort of your narrative leadership campaign, but I'm much more of a professor. Being on stage in front of 30,000 people is fun.
Yeah.
I think I do okay at it. Put me in a classroom of 25 people and leave me there all day long.
Oh, you crush it.
I'm as happy as I can be.
I've been in that room with you.
I love
You're mind-blowingly good. My preference is to give me the 30,000 people. You've seen me on stage, the entertaining and joking around.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a blast. I get it.
It's a performance.
Yeah.
For me, and I go, I think I have the most impact in 45 minutes on stage that someone will come out inspired and say, oh my God, this guy made it approachable. I think I can do this.
So you liked that. You found that.
That's my talent, I think. But
you're very good at it. I brought you in to speak to my community, yeah.
But I also know that's not going to have a long-lasting impact. People are going to walk out and be inspired, but day 2, it may fizzle. I need to get coaches in there. So that's when I started a coaching group. So Pumpkin Plan has all these coaches.
And you certify coaches in that framework.
Yeah.
And that's basically how to grow a small business sort of framework, right?
Correct.
Okay. So now you're a coach of coaches.
Yeah.
And that's beginning to take off. When does Profit First come in?
So Profit First was my third book. And this came out of an article I did for the Wall Street Journal. I went on another show on MSNBC called It's Your Business. Also did a little spin out from that thing. I've yet to get a television program. I'm good at spins.
You're made for it, man. I'd watch that show.
Thank you, brother. So I was on that show, and I meet Colleen DeBase. She is the editor-in-chief for the Wall Street Journal Small Business column. And she's like, yeah, I'm looking for columnists, guest columnists. I volunteer. She's like, well, we're going to do a test run because you have to be Wall Street Journal quality. I put the most sweat or effort into any of my work was into that first Wall Street Journal article over my books. Like I went word by word and submitted it. They said, yeah, we accept it. I wrote another article. My third article was on Profit First. Was
it a brand new idea? You're just looking for something interesting?
No.
You had already done this?
I already done it.
Yeah.
But basically, I was trying to give them business hacks. The first hack I shared with them, and they loved it. I said, how do you get legal services if you can't afford a lawyer? I remembered back to that day. And I said, oh, you go to a college, because I've done this subsequently, you go to a college that's teaching a legal course, the professor is a lawyer, and you say, I'll be a case study for you, here's an actual case, have your students work on it, have the lawyer, the professor, validate the output, and then that's your legal document. So I had classes at colleges working on my legal documents.
Which you probably got much better legal documents because their
Way better.
grades are dependent on it.
Yeah, exactly. But
They're not billable hours.
I have a lawyer, a real lawyer, reviewing it and saying this is how accurate it is and so forth. So I wrote that article and I'm like, oh, that's really innovative. And then Profit First was something I was already doing for myself. I was like, oh, this is a good one. I started getting calls. I don't even know how people track me down. There was no contact information. It just said, by contributing columnist Mike Michalowicz. My phone rang. I got emails. People were hunting me down saying, this is working. I need more information on this. I was like,
wow,
that's a book.
Yep.
So it became a book.
When did you know that book was a breakout?
Probably, I can tell it for any of my books. It's usually around week 16, about 4 months in.
And it's still selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
is the point where the plane usually lands.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's easy to track. Like when you launch, my God, it seems like everything's perfect. But what I found is a small percentage of people that buy a book will read a book in an immediate time frame, maybe 10 or 20%. Those people will start parroting and talking about the book once they've implemented it and believe in the system within 3 to 4 months. So that 3 or 4 month time frame is now people parroting about your book. Mm-hmm. So if the book continues to sell at that point without your effort, you have something. Profit First started curving up, and it continues to. Today, this week's sales were one of our best week sales ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And during Christmas period, I'm blessed. It's called, you know the process. It's called backlist.
Yeah.
You want your backlist curving up, and then.
Well, I've always said that, the key to having a book that I'm more interested in the book selling year 3 than I am it selling week 1. I can care less about hitting the New York Times bestsellers. Talk to me about year 3.
Yeah.
And one of the things I say to people is, look, especially people who've succeeded the way you have, is the reason that book took off and continues to sell is because it's actually well written.
Thank you.
You actually did a good job with the book. You weren't writing a book to get famous. You were writing a book in order to deliver really, really great advice.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes.
Yeah, and it really, as I was reading that book, I was already doing the system, but I had to codify in a way that was so simple and accessible that it made me do the system even better for myself.
Yeah.
I also had to pack in the stories. Like, I think it was Les Brown who says, don't give a message don't give a point without a story, don't give a story without a point. And I was really starting to learn about storytelling in books.
Yeah.
And any point you make has to be encapsulated in a story that makes it approachable. And I think in Profit First, I think I did a really good job in Pumpkin Plan. Profit First, I turned it up to 11.
Yeah, just more stories, more stories.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a brilliant concept and it's a great book, and it's saved hundreds and hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people many nights' sleep. I consider a master coach anybody who has excelled at something and then turned around and excelled at coaching at the thing that they excelled at. That's what I would consider a master coach. Success in 2 areas. A lot of people who coach and they've never succeeded at the very thing they're coaching, and I always think that's weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've done that. Final question, what does the future for Mike Michalowicz look like? I mean, let's look forward 10 years. What is this master coach doing? Yeah,
so what I'm trying to do is build a compendium for micro enterprise. 93% of business in the U.S. is under $1 million, and they're the struggling business. So there's a huge amount of people that are struggling. They also don't have the funds to hire necessarily a CFO or CEO for people to do it for them. They need coaches and they need resources. So I want to be the resource guy. I want to give them a book that touches every part of their entrepreneurial experience. That's my biggest goal.
Well, congratulations on all your success. Couldn't be happening to a better guy.
Thanks, Don.
I've loved your friendship. You're one of the most generous human beings I've ever met.
Hanging out with you.
Well, I mean, the generosity that you give to the world is so contagious.
Oh, thanks, brother.
And it's been one of the characteristics I've caught from you. And it's done nothing but bless my life. But thanks for coming on. And being, by the way, our very first master coach interview.
Oh my gosh.
Very first, hopefully first of many.
Yeah, so now the question is, 4 months from now, will you be curving up because of this, or are you going down?
I think we're going up.
Okay.
Thank you for watching this episode of Master Coach, and thank you, Mike Michalowicz. It was a great episode. Several things I got from the episode, and I'm sure you got them too. One was just tenacity. Keep going, don't stop. Next, rebound. Figure out why you screwed up and rebound quick. Metabolize the learning that you need to do in order to rebound and rebound. Also, don't be afraid to sell your expertise. Your wisdom is worth something, so don't be afraid to charge for it. In fact, you should charge a lot for it if you're making people a lot of money. So keep watching Master Coach. We've got Henry Cloud coming up, Amy Porterfield coming up. And by the way, if there's a Master Coach that you would like for me to interview, would you leave their name and information, just to, who they are and where we can find them, in the comments, and we will look those guys up. If you haven't subscribed to Coach Builder, make sure to subscribe, because we are always giving you wisdom that helps you build your coaching business. All right, until next time, see you soon.